First of all, I want to commend the author because I know deep in her heart that she wants to help these very hardworking and dedicated people with their lives. And we're talking about today a $64 billion industry in the state of California. As we all know, the state of California does not have the best business reputation. We just heard about 50% of the dairies that have left the state of California in the past 10 years, largely because of our business climate. We had a thriving egg industry in the state of California that's no longer here anymore, largely because of an initiative that made it too expensive for them to farm eggs in the state of California. We've seen manufacturing leave the state of California in droves. Yet we have companies like Apple Computers and Apple and Silicon Valley that do their best to promote income inequality issues while their executives are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And where are their phones made and their iPads made? They're not made in the United States anymore. They're not made in the state of California anymore. And the difference is because that there are less expensive places in the world to produce these items. And it's had, I think, a horrific effect on areas outside of Silicon Valley, as we've seen even automobile manufacturers leave the state. Toyota leaving Fremont, California. Sherwin-Williams Paints leaving the Los Angeles area. All again because of our business climate here in the state of California. So, getting to the agricultural workers, that they've been exempt. We understand they get paid, or one of 5 states that gets paid overtime for more than 10 hours or more than 60 hours a week. And it's been alluded to that this is kind of a select group, and really there's a lot of exempt workers in the state of California, including staffers in this building don't get paid overtime. Certain types of truck drivers are exempt. Student nurses are exempt. Taxi cab drivers are exempt. Computer software field. There's a whole list of people that are exempt based on the kind of work that they do. The reason why we have a transparency initiative that's qualified for the ballot and the legislature is considering putting one of their own on is because of transparency issues and the gut and amend process. This is an assembly bill that was heard by the entire assembly. 8 Democrats that represent mostly agricultural areas. They don't come from metropolitan areas. Understand the consequences of this sweeping bill. Assemblymember Cooley, Assemblymember Cooper, who by the way has got probably about $2 billion worth of ag in his district, Assemblyman Dodd, Frazier, Gray, Levine, Lowe, Quirk. They understand the ramifications of this bill becoming potentially law. The nature of these jobs is based on a lot of variables. It's based on the seasonality of the crop. I'm a farmer, believe it or not. I grow grapes. We had horrific heat in the Temecula area. 20% of our grape crop is gone in the entire Temecula wine country because of heat. That's 20% less grapes that we're going to have to pick. But when it comes time to pick those grapes, we have a finite period of time that we can pick those grapes so we can make a dry blend of wine, or we're going to make a port and let them sit on the vine longer. But you have to pick these things. We actually have people that go in and check the sugars to make sure that we're meeting those deadlines. So you've got to have flexibility. My fear is this bill is going to backfire, hurting especially a lot of family farmers. I was very impressed by Assemblyman Dolly's presentation on the assembly floor, like a 6th-generation farmer, and how this is going to potentially inhibit his passing of his farm on to his heirs. And how are employers responding? Well, Eastern Riverside County is largely agricultural. I represent the Blythe area. Okay, I mean, we feed the world. And I've talked to many of the farmers in the Coachella Valley. I talked to a prominent table grape grower who told me point blank that he is going to plow the grapevines under, and he's going to plant carrots where he has machinery instead of people that can come harvest that vegetable. You're going to see an adaptation in the state of California because they have to compete. They don't set the prices. Another variable that has not even been mentioned is we just had the widening of the Panama Canal. This is going to allow fruits and vegetables to come to the United States from other countries much quicker and less expensive if this bill were to come into fruition, because farmers will farm less. Those that embrace the new minimum wage laws are going to raise their prices, and they can't compete because they don't set the prices. If they can't make money, they're going to go out of business. Our farmers are already impacted by electricity use that is 63% higher than the national average, gasoline prices that are 33% higher than the national average, diesel costs that are 14% higher than the national average, the highest workman's comp rates in the country, water quality issues, especially with groundwater. But the damage, as we heard from one of the people testifying today, is not an impact just to the agricultural industry. It's going to harm all the other ancillary industries that depend on farming, such as trucking, retailing, refrigeration, warehousing. Employers are not going to pay overtime. What they're going to do is they're going to have multiple 40-hour shifts if they can find the labor. And this is where the piece rate that we've been paying these farm workers, in my view, is better for these farm workers, because one thing I love about these dedicated farm workers, Mr. Chairman, is they're very dedicated and they want to work hard, because the harder they work, the more fruit they pick, the more vegetables they pick, the more money they make, the more they can send home, the more they can feed their families and have a better living. It's my view that we will retrospectively look, if we pass this bill and it becomes law, it's going to devastate agriculture in the state of California, and it's going to hurt those people that I know in Ms. Garcia's heart she wants to help. Gonzalez, I'm sorry. It's going to hurt the people that she's intending to help. And so we need to learn from history that sweeping legislation like this has detrimental effects on what I believe to be our very fragile economy in the state of California. Just talking about our wine grape industry, which is huge, as we know. Since 2012 to 2015, we've seen the average ton for wine grapes go from $7.79 to $6.92. Additional cost pressures and increased labor costs and regulatory costs are being felt throughout the industry. In Ventura County, a number of agriculture operations are struggling. You go to Costco, you want to buy blueberries. They don't come from California. They don't come from the United States. They come from Chile. This is the beginning of the importation of less expensive fruit and vegetables. If our farmers that have a ceiling on what they can sell their agriculture for cannot get enough money to make a profit above those ceilings. And this is going to raise those costs for ag, that is going to adjust in ways in which they can continue to be profitable. And that's going to happen by either cutting hours, loss of jobs, requiring workers to work multiple shifts, and this is the why. This is why so many ag industries today are so fervently against this. My fear is that we're going to be killing yet another industry in the state of California at a time when our economy is very fragile. Again, I appreciate the author's intent, but for those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I cannot support this bill today.